She never wanted me to meet her family. And when I finally did, I understood why. My name is Fred Carter, and this happened back in the 90s, in the deep backwoods of Missouri, where my family used to run a meat stall at the local farmer's market. That's where I met Allison, a sweet, quiet girl who worked at a fruit stand nearby. I was hooked from the first glance, and I never stopped chasing her until she finally said yes. We dated for months. Eventually I asked her if I could meet her family, but Allison was always hesitant.
You really don't want to go out there, she'd say. My family's complicated. We live far, deep in the woods. It's not like the city.
That only made me more curious. I don't care how far. If I love you, I need to know them, I insisted. I want to make this official. After much convincing, she finally gave in. She told me the directions to her family's place, hidden miles off the main road in a remote patch of woodland.
She also said something strange. Please come before dark, it's dangerous at night.
That same night, my Uncle Ed, a grizzled man who'd seen too much in life, overheard my plans and offered to drive us there. My two cousins, Tony and Eli, also tagged along. The three of us had been thick as thieves since we were kids, but this trip would change us forever. We left just past noon in Uncle Ed's old pickup truck loaded with gifts and meat cuts for Allison's family. The roads were paved at first, but they gradually turned into gravel, then dirt, then just pure mud surrounded by trees that grew so thick they swallowed the sunlight. Halfway through the forest trail, the truck sputtered and died.
"Of course," Uncle Ed muttered, slamming the steering wheel. "Battery's shot. You boys go ahead. I'll fix this and catch up."
We hesitated. You sure?
"Go, before nightfall," he said. "Just follow the trail until you see a big oak tree. Past that, you'll find the village."
We hiked for nearly an hour. The deeper we went, the quieter it got. No birds, no wind, just the sound of our boots sinking into wet earth.
Fred, this place is creepy as hell. It feels wrong.
Then we heard it, rustling, to our left, then to our right, like something was following us. We froze. Tony held up the makeshift torch he'd made with his lighter and a stick wrapped in cloth. Suddenly, a screech from above. A massive shadow swooped past. We ducked, thinking it was a hawk, but it was far too big. Too fast. Then something else emerged from the trees. A wild boar, but with red glowing eyes. It stood still, right in the center of the trail, staring us down.
"That's no damn pig."
The thing growled, loud, guttural, angry. It took a step toward us.
"Back off! You want fire? Get the hell out of our way!"
Amazingly, the creature backed off, not in fear but as if it understood him. It disappeared into the woods.
Dude, you scared it off.
I don't think that was a regular animal. I think it was watching us.
We didn't speak after that, just walked faster, almost running. Eventually, the trees thinned and we saw lights. The village was a cluster of weathered wooden houses. Fires burned in barrels. Men carved fresh meat on long tables. Women in black robes sat around a blazing fire, chanting something in another language. We were greeted by Allison. She smiled, but it was a nervous smile.
Thank God you're okay. I was starting to worry.
We're fine. Is this a party?
She nodded. Of sorts.
A man approached, her grandfather, pale, wrinkled, and blind in one eye, but his stare was piercing. We were led to her family's home, a large Spanish colonial-style house that looked out of place in such a backwater setting. I met her parents, her father stone-faced and quiet, her mother eerily polite.
"You'll sleep here tonight. It's not safe to go back after dark."
Wait, sleep here? We're not heading back?
Please, it's better this way. Just don't open the windows, okay?
Why?
She smiled. Mosquitoes.
But in her eyes, I saw something else. That night, something would come to our window, and we'd realize exactly what kind of town we had entered. The guest room was dimly lit by a single lamp, its shade stained yellow with age. Wooden walls creaked with every gust of wind. My cousins, Tony and Eli, sat on opposite ends of the bed, both clearly uneasy. Allison had just left us to help her mother with dinner, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Not just by her parents or neighbors, but by the house itself. Tony went straight to the wooden window and began fiddling with the latch.
"Didn't she say not to open that?"
What, you scared of some bugs? Tony scoffed, prying it open.
The cold wind rushed in, along with it, a sound, whispers, very faint, like breathless chanting. Tony slammed the window shut.
Nope, screw that, you win, window stays closed.
I tried to laugh it off, but something about this whole trip felt orchestrated. Why the warm welcome? Why the sudden offer to stay the night? And why the rules? The door creaked open. Allison stood there with a soft smile.
"Dinner's ready," she said. "Come while it's hot."
The dining room was filled with platters of vegetables and fish, normal food, comforting almost, but something about the atmosphere made it impossible to relax. Her parents didn't sit with us. They vanished into another room, leaving us alone with Allison. "Aren't they eating?"
"They already did," she said quickly.
The first bite went down fine, but just as I started my second spoonful, a terrible stench filled the air, rotten meat mixed with something metallic. We all paused, and then we heard it again, that fluttering, the unmistakable sound of wings, but heavier, bigger. The entire ceiling groaned above us, as if something had landed. Thump, thump, thump.
Those ain't birds, man.
Allison stood up suddenly.
"Stay here," she said.
She rushed into the other room. We heard hushed arguing, a man's voice, her father's, raised in anger, then a phrase I'll never forget. "Tell them to leave if they don't want to die like the last ones." I looked at Tony. His face had gone pale. Eli gripped his spoon like a weapon. Seconds later, Allison returned, her calm smile back on.
"Sorry about that, just raccoons on the roof. Happens sometimes. Ignore it."
I didn't believe her, none of us did, but we stayed quiet. That night, as we lay in bed, none of us could sleep. 3:14 a.m. A sound woke us, scraping against the wall. Something was climbing outside. We stayed still, barely breathing. Then a louder sound. The door handle turned, slowly, deliberately, click. We stared as the door creaked open, but no one stood there. Instead, cold wind blasted in, extinguishing the lamp. Then, a shadow moved across the floor. Tony scrambled under the bed. Eli grabbed the wooden chair and pointed it like a spear. I backed against the wall, my heartbeat thudding like a drum. Suddenly, Allison burst through the door, slamming it shut behind her. She was holding a tray with 3 glasses of water.
"Drink this now, please."
She handed them out, her voice trembling. We didn't ask questions. We just drank. Within seconds, the chill in the room vanished. The fear dulled, like someone had thrown a blanket over our minds. What is this?" I asked. She hesitated. "It's protection." That's when Allison told us the truth. Everyone in this village is different. We have a bloodline, a legacy. Some call us monsters, some call us cursed. But the truth is, we're descendants of something old, something that doesn't die. She didn't say the word aswang, but I knew. My mom's different, she's a healer. She kept me normal as I could be. But the others, my father, the neighbors, they feed. Not always, not everyone, but enough. I felt my stomach turn. "Why did you bring us here?" I asked. "I didn't want to. I begged you not to come, but you insisted. I gave you warnings. I hoped maybe they'd let you leave if you saw you weren't a threat." I stared at her. "Are we in danger?" She didn't answer. Outside, we heard the wings again, this time farther away, moving off. "They're looking for the weak ones," she said. "If you drank that water, they can't see you. Not tonight." I couldn't tell if I was relieved or horrified, but I knew one thing. We wouldn't survive another night here. The sun hadn't even risen yet when I shook Tony and Eli awake. "We're leaving," I whispered. "Now." Tony rubbed his eyes. "What about the car? We'll walk. I don't care if it takes all day." Eli nodded. "Good. I don't want to sleep here ever again." We quietly packed our things, careful not to make a sound. Allison had gone to help her mother again, probably assuming we'd still be recovering from the night before. The water she gave us had worked, but the feeling it left was worse than fear. It was numbness, like my soul had gone cold. We crept down the hall. The house was still, too still, like it was watching us. As we reached the front door, it creaked open slowly, revealing Allison's grandfather. He wasn't surprised to see us, he just stared and smiled. "Leaving so soon?" His voice was like dry leaves being crushed underfoot. Have a long drive, I muttered. He nodded. Of course, visitors rarely stay long here. Then he leaned in closer, his pale eyes boring into mine. But not everyone who comes here leaves whole. I froze. But Tony grabbed my arm. Let's go. We slipped past him and walked down the narrow dirt trail, the village fading behind us like a bad dream. We didn't talk much during the hike back. Each step felt heavier than the last. When we reached the spot where the car had broken down, Uncle Ed was still there, covered in grease, leaning against the truck.
What the hell happened to you boys? He asked.
Long story, I replied. Let's just go.
But he narrowed his eyes. You look pale, all of you.
Eli climbed into the back seat without a word. Tony followed. I glanced back one last time. Allison stood far down the trail, just barely visible in the trees. She didn't wave. She didn't cry. She just watched.
On the drive back, Uncle Ed told us he'd spent the night with an old buddy who helped him fix the truck. Didn't feel right staying out there alone, he said. Too quiet.
When we got home, we agreed on one thing. We never talk about what happened. Not to friends, not to family, not even to each other. But silence doesn't erase trauma. 1 month later, I received a letter. No return address. Inside was a small wooden token carved with strange symbols, the same ones the women in black had chanted around the fire. Beneath it was a note. You were protected, but others won't be. Keep this with you, always. I never told anyone about that letter. 6 months later, Eli left town, said he needed space. He never talked about that trip again. Tony changed too. The joking, loudmouthed cousin I grew up with? Gone. He grew quiet, jumpy. Sometimes I'd catch him checking the sky, searching for wings. As for me, I tried to move on. I found love again, married, had a child. But some nights when everything's quiet, I swear I still hear them. The whispers, the wings, the thing that stared at me in the woods. And I dream of Allison, standing in the dark, watching, waiting. Not every ex-girlfriend haunts you, but mine might literally be doing it. It had been years since that night. Life moved on. I married a woman named Rachel, settled down in suburban Illinois, and started a family. But I never forgot Allison, or that village in the woods. It became one of those stories you lock away in the back of your mind. Not because you don't believe it, but because you believe it too much. Still, I never expected the past to knock on my door again. It started with our daughter Hannah. She was only 4 when it began. The nightmares.
Daddy, there's a lady in my window. She smiles at me, but her mouth is red.
At first we brushed it off, kid stuff, bad dreams. But then she started drawing things. Circles inside triangles, black wings, a pig with human eyes. One morning Rachel found her standing in front of the mirror, whispering.
What are you saying, sweetheart? She's teaching me. Teaching you what? How to stay hidden? Like Mommy used to.
That's when my stomach dropped. I confronted Rachel that night. She resisted at first, but when I said the name Allison, her face turned ghost white.
How do you know that name?
I stared at her in disbelief. She was my ex. Rachel sat down slowly. She's my cousin. It all came spilling out. Rachel wasn't raised in the village, but her mother was, Allison's aunt. She'd escaped when she was young, fell in love with a normal man and tried to start fresh, but you can't run from blood.
I've always been afraid it would come back. The pull. It's like gravity. Every daughter carries the mark, whether they know it or not.
That night I sat by Hannah's bedside watching her sleep, and I realized something chilling. I didn't escape the village. I brought it home. The next morning I opened the drawer in my nightstand. Inside was the wooden token Allison had mailed me all those years ago. It was burning hot. I turned it over. A new word had been etched into the wood. Deep, fresh, almost alive. Return. We never went back. But sometimes I wonder if that was a mistake. Because now, Hannah's eyes linger too long on strangers. Her drawings have become darker. She doesn't blink when the dog growls at her. And last week she told her babysitter, "You should drink this water, it keeps you safe from the ones with wings." This wasn't a story about an ex. It was a story about inheritance, about the curse that sleeps in blood and wakes in daughters. And maybe, just maybe, it never wanted me. It wanted her. If you made it this far, congratulations. You're not supposed to know any of this. But if you ever hear wings on your rooftop at night, don't open the window, and for God's sake, subscribe to this channel before they find you. They hate being exposed. Tap the bell, you'll want to hear the next warning.